Will that investor call between Elizabeth Holmes and several of the investors in Theranos, will that come into evidence in the Sunny Balwani trial? Those 7 recordings that the Holmes jury heard. But it was quite a dust-up last Friday, and I'll tell you about it. But before I get into it, please do subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell notification. This video is simply my opinion. It's for educational, informational purposes. And I want to know what your analysis is, so please do leave a comment. Okay, so who's Brian Tolbert? Brian Tolbert is one of the investors in Theranos. He invested $4.875 million of his own money in December. Let me double check. It was December 2013. And he also was one of the investors in the Black Diamond venture, which is count 4. Black Diamond Ventures invested $5.349 900,000, so $5.3 million into Theranos. That's count 4. Brian Tolbert is count 5. So why are we going to find out tomorrow, Tuesday, whether or not that investor call gets played is because Brian Tolbert was one of the investors on that call. He heard the representations that Elizabeth Holmes made. Sunny Balwani was not on that call. Sunny Balwani is not recorded on that call. Okay, so we'll find out if the defense is able to get that call in, or if the government decides to introduce it into evidence. So I'm going to give you a quick preview of what I anticipate Brian Tolbert to testify to, and also we're going to look at some of the evidence relating to Brian Tolbert's testimony. Okay, so let's take a look. I want to show you first where's the proof that he invested I can never remember all these millions of dollars, $4.875 million in December of 2013. Let me show you where the proof is on that. Okay, so here is, I'll get to that in a second. That's relating to that investor call. Here's a couple pages from the stock purchase agreement, and the last page that I have here is Brian Tolbert's signature. So anyway, I just thought I would just show this to you, and I could get into it in another video about the purchase agreement if you are curious about what's in here. But just to show you the table of contents, you can go ahead and look at that. All right, so here's just the initial regarding the stock purchase agreement between Theranos and the investor would be Brian Tolbert. It's just a couple pages. Okay, so here's a master signature page. Here's proof that the government has that Brian Tolbert, one of the investors, and he's as to count 5, he invested in, says right here, I acknowledge and agree that I am investing the following aggregate dollar value, 4.8 million, to purchase a total of 325,000 shares in company in Theranos. Here's his signature, Brian Tolbert, and look whose signature, Elizabeth Holmes. Okay, so there's proof that he invested in December of 2013. Now, let's look at, I want to show you what did he know. And again, they're going to get into more of this tomorrow in his testimony, but I just wanted to show you. These are from exhibits from the Holmes case. Here are the notes that Brian Tolbert sent to Craig Hall. Craig Hall is from Black Diamond Ventures. Brian Tolbert was one of the investors in Black Diamond Ventures, so he invested through, he's part of that 5.349 million, which is count 4, the 5.3 million that Black Diamond Ventures invested in Theranos, and he also, Brian Tolbert, individually invested 4.875 million, that's count 5. So back in 2006, what did Brian Tolbert know? So he's putting together, he had a conference call with Theranos. I assume it's Elizabeth Holmes that he spoke with, but here are his notes that he's sending to Craig Hall. Attached are my notes from the conference call regarding Theranos yesterday. I'm waiting on additional information. This could have been from a prior investor call that they may have had. Anyway, it's Monday, October 30th, 2006 on American Online. CHAL is Craig Hall. The contacts were Elizabeth Holmes, Gary Nordheimer, Chris Lucas from Black Diamond Ventures. And then talking about what are the three trends of Theranos. This is what was represented to Brian Tolbert. These are his notes regarding Theranos, remote patient care. He lists the investors in Theranos at the time, 2006. Don Lucas, who was the chairman of the board of Theranos in 2006. He was the uncle of Chris Lucas, who owns Black Diamond Ventures, which is where where Brian Tolbert was an investor in Black Diamond Ventures. Black Diamond is being allowed to participate by virtue of the relationship with Don Lucas. Now, this relates to a prior investment amount. Regarding the indictment, they're only dealing with the funds that were invested in December of 2013 from Black Diamond. Not necessarily what was going on with 2006, but I'm showing this to you to let you know what it is that Brian Tolbert knew about Theranos before he decided to invest in it. Okay, so here are all the different investors you can look at. First raise was $16 million. This round is $30 million with $125 million pre-money valuation. IPO is anticipated in the first quarter of 2008. They never went public. They had private offerings. They expect the IPO to be valued around $1 billion. And they talk here about continuing to find successive iterations of the technology in 2006. Again, this is during the time they were stealth mode, right? Because they didn't bring it to market until 2013. And then this indictment, relates to allegations in 2013 of the 6 investor counts, where they took in approximately $155 million between December 2013 and October 2014, of which Brian Tolbert is count 5, which is the 4.875 million. Okay. Here's his notes regarding what he knew about Elizabeth Holmes at that time. You can go ahead and read this. Finished high school, dropped out of Stanford's chemical and electrical engineering, had 27 patents. The financials, their burn rate is $1 million a month. Expect to be cash flow positive in fourth quarter of 2007. Well, in their controller, Denise Yam, testified in the Holmes case and in the Balwani case, they never were cash flow positive. Theranos was never cash flow positive. And the investment through Black Diamond Ventures, which is where Brian Tolbert initially invested in Theranos. Okay, now let's look at, this relates to that darn investor call that the defense wants to get in which the jury heard in the Holmes case. It was Elizabeth Holmes having conversations, 7 recordings with investors, which included Brian Tolbert and Craig Hall. Okay, so so this is from Brian Tolbert's email, let me go back here. December 18, 2013. Why does that date matter? Because the investor counts begin December 30th, 2013. So this is 12, can I do my math? 12 days before. Okay, and it's CC to Chris Lucas. So it's to Brian Tolbert. It's regarding an investor update call with CEO Elizabeth Holmes. Doesn't say Balwani, it says Elizabeth Holmes. It says, Dear Black Diamond Investor, an investor conference call has been scheduled for Friday, December 20th. The confidential update call will be presented by Theranos CEO Elizabeth Holmes. And look what's stated here. With their launch to consumer healthcare this year, they are rapidly scaling to establish a national footprint and an opportunity to capture the opportunity we have to serve as the only certified national laboratory capable of running any of its laboratory tests from a few tiny droplets of blood. That's a representation. They're saying here they do it by a few tiny droplets of blood. Well, we know from the Holmes case and from several of the witnesses in the Balwani case that wasn't true. They were also doing venous blood draws, not to mention third-party devices, etc. Talks about revolutionizing medicine and to build this new industry they have created. As part of this initiative, they are completing a series of financial transactions with strategic partners. that provide access to additional capital in order to accelerate their growth. And you have an option to invest additional equity in the company through the end of 2013. The price per share is $75 pre-split and a 5-to-1 stock split with $15 a share. Why December 31, 2013 matters is because 3 of the counts alleged in the complaint, counts 3, counts 4, and count 5, relate to 3 investments by 3 individual investors. One is the $99,000, which is count 3 from Alan Eisenman. Count 4, which is $5.349 million from the Black Diamond Venture Fund, which Brian also had invested in, Brian Tolbert. And then count 5, which was also December 31st, 2013, which is $4.8 million that Brian Tolbert invested. Okay, so this is the memo announcing that investor call, those 7 recordings of the statements that Elizabeth Holmes made to Brian Tolbert, to Craig Hall, and to several other investors. So the defense wants the jury to hear it. We're going to find out what happens. Let me see if there's anything else here. Nope. So we will find out probably tomorrow. We'll probably find out tomorrow whether or not the Balwani jury is going to hear that investor call, those statements that Elizabeth Holmes made to these investors. Because Brian Tolbert was on that call and he can testify, as to the recording. So we'll see how the judge rules tomorrow. We'll probably find out tomorrow or whenever, probably before, we'll probably get a ruling before Brian Tolbert gets off the stand. So we'll see. What do you think? Do you think they're going to get that investor call in? Those statements that Elizabeth Holmes made to the investors, including Brian Tolbert, relates to what he knew. Those representations were what he knew before he made his investment decision of $4.8 million into Theranos. So leave a comment. What's your analysis? Because this video is simply my analysis, my opinion. So leave a comment. Please support my work by subscribing. Do subscribe and do watch that video I did on the live stream, the live analysis I did last Friday. And by the way, we'll do another live stream this week, probably Wednesday or Thursday, but you got to vote. Let me know which date you prefer, Wednesday or Thursday, and I'll do a live analysis of the testimony in the Balwani case and anything else that looks interesting. So again, if you have suggestions or comments on videos, topics you'd like me to create, please do leave that as well. So thanks again for watching. Please hit that like button, hit the bell notification, and do subscribe.